Let's face it, the NBA is full of physical specimens, but it's not just about raw athleticism. Athleticism is not just about running fast or jumping high. Switchability is also huge in today's game. How many positions can you truly guard? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Anthony Goods, the Stanford Gentleman and NBA Scout. And today's episode is about the skill of scouting, how I evaluate talent at the highest level. So whether you're looking to get into scouting or just trying to understand what scouts like me look for, this video is for you, and I hope you guys enjoy. But before we get started, if you could please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn your notifications on. Your support really keeps this thing going and it's much appreciated. But let's strap up and let's dive in. So I'm gonna get a little artsy because I love my job, but scouting is more than a game to me. Scouting is an art form, and it's a form of creativity where we're painting like a piece of a picture of a player and we're handing that over to the GM to make his final decision. Now, when it comes to scouting, there's a lot of things we have to do, like analyzing skill, understanding context and basketball IQ, and then just trying to project potential and how a certain player may grow. Talent evaluation is broken down into many different categories, and we're going to start with the very first thing when you see somebody, and that's the body. Let's face it, the NBA is full of physical specimens, but it's not just about raw athleticism. When I scout players, I like to analyze their body in a few key areas. I like to use the acronym FLAP to help you guys remember what to look at. Frame, length, athleticism, and positional size. The body frame can tell you a lot about how a player can develop over time. Some players come into the league with a slim frame that has the potential to add muscle. You think about a player like Giannis, and his frame allowed him to bulk over time, and now he's one of the more physically dominant players in the NBA. He had a huge transformation with his body, and if we look at his body during his draft year and even his rookie year, you could tell his frame had the potential to fill out. He already has some definition in his arms, and sometimes we can estimate the potential to develop through the siblings, kind of like with Giannis and Thanasis. Thanasis' body was much more mature, but he was older. So we could see Giannis' potential to develop through the bloodline of his brother. The next stop is length. Wingspan is a very crucial factor on the NBA floor. Longer arms have the ability to disrupt passing lanes, alter shots, and finish at the rim a lot more easily. We could look at a player like Kawhi Leonard, who's a good example because he's not the best vertical athlete, but uses his 7'3" wingspan to play much bigger than his listed height. A great wingspan can sometimes compensate for a lack of height and strength and make a player much more versatile offensively and defensively. On a personal note, back in 2011, I was in training camp with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I remember the first few practices I was there, the length was the first thing that I noticed that was completely different between the NBA and the G League. The normal passes that I could just hook over the defense and get to the corner were getting tipped, so now I had to take advantage of every inch of my length just to get those passes through in training camp. An average wingspan is usually a person's height, and to get into a little bit of terminology, when a player, let's say, has a wingspan that is 2 inches taller than his height, we would call that a +2 wingspan, +3, +4, so on and so forth. Me, myself, I'm 6'3" with a 6'5" wingspan, so I would have a +2 wingspan. On the flip side, if a player's wingspan is the same as his height, or even if it's a little bit shorter, we call that a negative wingspan. Now let's move over to athleticism. Athleticism is not just about running fast or jumping high. Sometimes we analyze lateral quickness, change of direction, acceleration, deceleration, and even explosiveness. A player like John Morant combines athleticism with skill, which makes a big impact on the floor, even though he's not the biggest player on the court. When I evaluate athleticism in my mind or even in a scouting report, I always compare the player to NBA athleticism. That being said, a player that's a good athlete in college or maybe even in Europe might just be an average athlete in the NBA. At the end of the day, if the NBA is the end goal, you have to compare them on the same playing field. And lastly, positional size is crucial. Does this player have the height and build to play their position at the next level? For example, a shooting guard 6'5" and 6'6" might have the right size for the role, but it's more than just height. We also need to consider their build and how it affects their performance. Strength and body weight is something I always take into account when discussing positional size. We could look at Nikola Jokic, for example. Nikola Jokic doesn't have outstanding positional height, but he does have a wide body and strength, so he has good positional size. Now let's talk defense. This is often where players either make or break their chances from standing out. And I break defense down into multiple parts. First one is on-ball defense. How well do you guard the ball? Are you able to stay in front, move your feet, force tough shots? Great on-ball defenders are able to disrupt opposing guards with lateral quickness and active hands. And the ball pressure doesn't always have to be crazy to be a good on-ball defender. A lot of good on-ball defenders that I see actually have a very calm, sturdy, strong presence to them while they're guarding the ball. Off-ball defense is equally important. Is this player engaged when they're off the ball or they're not involved in the primary action? I'm looking for awareness. Are they ready to help? Are they closing out to shooters? Are they making second effort plays? That's another big one. Second effort plays are huge. Defensive awareness is a big part of success in the NBA, especially because most players that come into this league will be a role player at one point or most points in their career. Pick and roll defense is also a very huge part of today's game. There's rarely a time in a scouting report or even in a discussion where we don't mention pick and roll defense. I don't care if you're a guard, wing, or a big. Guards need to know how to navigate screens. Guards and bigs need to know, are they switching? Are they hedging? Are we up to touch? Are we in a traditional drop? All of these things make a huge difference. And again, as an evaluator, context is huge because I don't know their defensive rules. So there could be a big that's playing in a deep traditional drop, and I could think that he's lazy, but maybe that's what the coach wants from him. Maybe he does have the ability to hedge and be up to touch and switch and do all these other things. But, that's why doing your research on the coach and the history of the team, et cetera, plays a role into your evaluation of a player for any particular game or long stretch of time. Switchability is also huge in today's game. How many positions can you truly guard? In positionless basketball, we all want players that can guard 1 through 5, but that's just not the case. But even if you're a 2-position defender, a 3-position defender, it doesn't really matter. How well you can guard those positions determines your value. Even if you're a small guard and you're a 1-position defender, if you're elite, that's valuable. And the last section on defense is rebounding and rim protection. One of the most translatable stats across all levels is rebounding. And you want rebounders at every position if you can have it. Rebound is about effort, positioning, and timing. And while rim protection is usually for big men, it's always a bonus if you have a guard that can get up and protect the rim as well. And when I look at rim protectors, I look at different things. Are you blocking shots as a primary defender? Are you blocking shots as a secondary defender? Do you block shots because of timing? Do you block shots because of your length? Do you block shots with your athleticism? All of these things have to be taken into account, and then from there, I build my report. Now let's get over to the offensive side. When I'm evaluating offensive skills, I look at the basic key aspects of the game. Ball handling is usually the first thing. Can you handle and take care of the ball? And I don't need you to be a crazy ball handler like Kyrie and be this shifty point guard. Can you handle the ball, get to your spots? Can you facilitate pick and roll? Can you create your own shot? Can you get to the basket? There's a multitude of ball handlers out there, and my job is to identify what type of ball handler that you are. Shooting is arguably the most valuable skill in today's NBA. Can you catch and shoot? Can you shoot on the move? Do you shoot off the dribble? These are all things that I look at on top of even looking at the mechanics, looking at the balance. Just trying to look for any indicators that suggest that maybe this player could be a better shooter in the future if they're not already that now, or they're going to be consistent moving forward. Passing is another valuable skill. Do you have the vision, timing, creativity, and accuracy to deliver these passes? And you don't have to be this wizard of a passer. You could also be a connected passer. Maybe you're making the hockey assist, or maybe you're making the pass before the pass that leads to the assist. All of these things are of value and make a team better. And one of the last things I look at is pick and roll play. For bigs, I'm looking if you're screening, is the big rolling hard? Does he have good hands? And how well does he finish plays? Is he a lob threat? All these things are super important for bigs. In guards, I'm trying to see how well they maneuver and decision make in pick and roll. Do they know when to score, when to be aggressive, when to drag the pick out, or when to pass the rock and get everybody involved? A guard's ability to manipulate pick and roll might be the most valuable asset in today's game. And lastly, I'll talk to you guys about video versus in-person evaluations. Video evaluations is great because you can get a lot more in-depth with your evaluation. Because it's on tape, you have the ability to stop, play, pause, run things back. And if you have a scouting service, you also have the ability to be a lot more direct as to what you're looking at. You can look at all their possessions driving left, or all their possessions, their pick and roll possessions with passes, or whatever it may be. There's a huge value to video evaluations. In-person evaluations are also great. You get a much better feel for their body, their size, how their athleticism and their strength weighs up against other players. You get to see their shooting mechanics in better detail, and you also get a better feel for their temperament and their personality on the floor. It's hard to get a picture of a player doing one without the other. They both come hand in hand and they're both necessary. So that's a wrap on how I evaluate talent as a scout. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment if you guys want me to get to something else, and I'll try to cover that within the next few weeks. I truly appreciate the support. And as always, keep shooting and I'll keep scouting.